What's going on, everybody out there in YouTube land? This is Jim George Baker, also known as the Anime Recruiter, and I will be coming at you with another anime review called Night Raid 1931. And pretty much, well, explaining how this series is it's gonna be kind of hard for me, I think, because this series is pretty complex. Pretty much, it's like it's like a historical, was an action-packed adventure slash supernatural, political, historical, fictional historical anime, and pretty much the theme at its core is it's like a show that has like quite a bit of action and people shooting at each other and then you have car chases and stuff like that going on. But I think really what made this series what it is the whole overall, what's right and what's just, and the way they make you see about, make you determine what is right and what is just is like through the whole politics aspect of it and the whole morality thing all tied into one. Like you had it, like it was kind of like you had the whole politics perspective of things. Then you have the whole morality thing, how they were both different, but at the same time they were intertwined. And that's pretty much what made the series. Kind of like Ghost in the Shell in a way, except for Ghost in the Shell is like a futuristic sci-fi anime, and this series is like historical. It's based on the, what was going on in World War One and World War Two, and they reference quite a bit of things like the League of Nations. And if you know what the League of Nations was, I think that was the League of Nations was the United Nations before they were called United Nations, and then they would reference things like the Great War. And if you know what the Great War is, then you would know that was World War One before they were calling it World War One. And then they reference things like the atomic bomb and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm not really too that good with history, but I even a person with the lack of education that I have can kind of, you see that there were, a lot of the stuff that was going on in this series was based off of things that happened back in, those times, like in the 1920s, 1930s and stuff like that, things like that. And what things were going on back in the 1920s, 1930s and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what it is at its core. And also the thing that really caught my eye was a lot of this stuff was, it was, like I said, it was just a complex series. But I want to get down to the characters. That's pretty much what let me see. I'm gonna get down to the characters. You have the main character, which is Kazuma. Kazuma. He's like the main character. And you have the rest of the cast, the rest of the major characters like Tokuba, something like that. You have Tokuba, Natsume, and Akine, or something like that, Akine. And they're pretty much the major cast, the major characters that are in the series. And they're pretty much like, they all have like some kind of supernatural powers, and they work together under this one agency called the Sakurai Agency, where it's run by Mr. Sakurai. And they pretty much order these guys to, pretty much become like secret agents to figure out, who's trying to start, what, and, try to stop, they're pretty much trying to stop this whole big conspiracy from going on. And because pretty much what they're trying to do is stop the other people who are like supposedly supposed to be the bad guys, and they're pretty much trying to unite all the Asian countries together to so they can attack people from the western part of the world. And that's pretty much what the main characters were trying to do. And or the major characters were trying to do. And that's pretty much all I can really explain to you exactly, what's going on exactly. Because there's a lot of crazy, complex psychological stuff going on in this series. It's like, what's going on? Sometimes I had to, rethink or reevaluate what was going on in this series. And I want to talk about, I didn't get done talking about the main character. You got Kazuma. And his power is like some kind of wind I don't know, what do you call that? Like some kind of force shield where he can shoot things at people and knock them down and stuff like that. But then there was like a time limit where he had, there were certain things he couldn't do at certain times. So there was like a time limit to his powers or something like that. I don't know. I didn't quite get exactly how that worked. But yeah, he's like one of those relaxed characters where he's just like not really thinking 2 steps ahead. He's one of those kind of characters. Just live life on the edge. Live life. Just take it on the fly. And then you had a guy. Then you had Tokuba. Yeah, Tokuba. Which he was like, I think he was like the exact opposite. He was always, calculating, and he always, because he was one of those guys where he had to know what was going on before he got there. He was always thinking ahead. Versus Tasuma, he just took it from he was just on the fly. He just did everything on the fly, and then his Tokuba, his powers is pretty much teleporting. So yeah, that's pretty much his power. And as far as there was really no time limit on his powers though. That was another thing. I don't think there was a time limit on his powers. But he was taught restraint, so it'd be rare for him to use that ability because he thought that if he used that ability, it would make him lazy. That's what his family or his grandmother taught him. Don't use your powers too much because you don't want to rely on it to the point where you start thinking that once I use my power, if you didn't have your power, you can't pretty much do nothing. He was taught not to use his powers unless he absolutely needed to. So so you got those 2 guys who are like, I guess, like complete opposites from each other. But they always work well as a team, that's for sure. And then you have Kina or Kine. She's like the chick in the group. She's the young chick in the group who's, she's pretty much there, in the group to help out the other characters, but also to, I guess, find her older brother. That somehow he got tied in with the what was going on in the war and stuff like that, and he got caught up in, what was going on, or, then again, she didn't know, if he got caught up in it or he was being forced to help out people. So it was a whole lot of that stuff was going on. And then she had a servant, which is also another main character. His name is Nasuma. Yeah, he's pretty much like a servant. He's supposed to be there to, to protect her and stuff. He's like, I guess, like a butler that goes everywhere with her or something like that. And pretty much, his powers, he was able to see in rooms where it didn't have, anything, like I don't know, for some reason he was able to project his eyesight to different places where no one would normally could see, because I don't know how to explain that. Like somehow he's able to see in another room without any kind of camera or something like that. So, and her power, Kina, her powers are pretty much like reading people's minds. So that was pretty interesting. That's all she really could do is just read people's minds and stuff, and talk and use her thought, whatever you call that thing, where she can talk to you, through her mind, and y'all be able to talk to each other through each other's minds and stuff. So that was her power, and Mr. Sakurai, who runs the agency, the Sakurai agency, he doesn't have power. He just orders people around. He orders those guys around pretty much. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the major characters. There were like there are other characters in the series, but I don't know. I don't really want to get into them because I don't want to. I'm trying to keep this spoiler free as possible. I probably already said enough already, but as far but I do want to get into these other things that kind of caught my eye as far as what was going on back in those days, because that's pretty much what the series is based off of, what was going on in the 1920s and the 30s and stuff like that, and just the the early 1900s or whatever. And yeah, a lot of the stuff was kind of interesting, like how people didn't even know what gum was. It was supposed to be, because back then it was supposed to be like rare for people to even know what was going on. Like what was like bubble gum. You had a couple people who, when they were introduced to bubblegum, they were swallowing. I was sitting there thinking, you didn't know what bubblegum was? Then I realized this was based off of what was going on back in those days. And it was like, oh wow, that's crazy. So a lot of those references, letting people know, like, hey, I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of funny at the same time. It was like, wow, we came pretty far. So, that was pretty interesting. And another thing that also caught my interest was, the art style. It didn't really caught my interest. It was just, I don't know, it just kind of reminded me a little bit of, like a lot of characters look kind of realistic. I mean, sure, you have a few of them with big old eyes, like the female Akina. You had her. She had like these. She didn't have like super huge eyes, but she had big eyes that were, kind of that, have the typical anime eyes. But then there were characters with, different kinds of character designs. Kind of reminds me of Samurai Champloo, that kind of style, that kind of art style. And I like how a lot of them had actual realistic, they didn't have that hair color, they had that realistic hair color. It wasn't like, green, purple, blue. You didn't see none of that like you would see in a typical anime series. So I like that. Kind of added on to that realistic, feel that it did. And then it had that's another thing I liked about the series. They had a serious tone to it. They try to come off as a serious show, and I think they did a pretty good job coming off as a very serious show. So I like that. I mean, yeah, sure, they had comic, there was a couple of comic reliefs here and there, but overall it was very serious, and I think they did a good job portraying it as a very serious show. So I like that. Now, as far as the audio track, whatever you want to call it, and I try to keep the whole sub versus dub out of this. Out of my reviews, I just don't like getting into the whole sub versus dub thing. But I do want to mention, if you watch the sub of this series, like the Japanese version with the English subtitles, you will notice there will be moments where some of the characters will actually start speaking English, or they'll just straight up, not even speak Japanese. Like most of the characters will speak, Japanese, like the major characters, and including the main character, they will speak Japanese, but a lot of the characters, a lot of the other characters that are, just the side characters or characters that weren't really that important, they will speak English, and then you have the bad guy or one of the villains. He'll be a Japanese character, a Japanese soldier. And of course, he speaks Japanese, and then he'll switch it. He'll start speaking like, I guess, broken English or something like that. Because there was like an episode where I guess the people from League of Nations, they started getting together, and a lot of them spoke English, and then some of them, and you had guys that were speaking Japanese, and you had the guy, when he was at that meeting, he was speaking like, I guess, like broken English, whatever you want to call it. he was speaking, that poor English, but you could understand exactly what he was saying. And of course, he had that Japanese accent. So I like that. I like when I watch subtitle anime where even in the subtitles, there'll be times where the characters will speak English. I like that. I just like that. I think that's pretty cool. I just wanted to point that out. Now the problems I have with this series is, problems I have with this series is, I don't know. I think there was a lot of plot holes they left out. There were some things that they didn't really explain. Where I don't know. It's hard to explain exactly, what was what. It just I don't know how I can explain it, but there was some things that were just not mentioned that was there, wasn't really mentioned. And then there was this one instance where Akina, she started having these powers, because they were kind of hinting that she was going to have some new powers or whatever. And she saw this one vision where she saw something that that she wasn't ready for. But then the other character saw through her vision what was going on, and really nothing really happened to them. But when she saw it for the first time, she nearly fainted. She nearly passed out. So yeah, she nearly passed out. Well, actually, she did pass out for like a day or something. But when the other character saw it, when she showed, using her hands, showed the other characters, what she saw, nothing really happened to them at all. So kind of, stuff like that was, and then you had a dude who got shot out on the streets. Ain't nobody did nothing for him. No one called. No one said nothing. They just kind of just stood there like, what's going on? And so stuff like that was like, okay, I don't know, that don't look right to me. Maybe it was just, that's how it was back in those days. I don't know. But I don't know. They don't run or scream or nothing. They just, I don't know what was that about. I don't know. But I don't know. There was a lot of stuff was going on that I felt like I can't really explain exactly, what's going on. I don't want to spoil too much. So that's another reason why I kind of don't want to explain what was not mentioned. So yeah, this is a very complex show, and I still wish I could give you guys more information of what was going on, but at the same time, I don't want to spoil too much for you guys. I do want you guys to see this series, and there's like a short series, and then after you watch it, it's like a short series. It's a short series, and then after you watch the short series, there's extra episodes to let you know a lot of the casualties that happen within the war, within the two, world wars. And there's an episode that's pretty messed up. I'm not too sure what episode that was, but it was pretty messed up. It was like one of those extra episodes. It's pretty messed up. So if you're one of those people who has a weak heart, I don't know if you should watch that episode. Yeah, it has something to do with opium, and yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody's educated enough to know what opium is. That stuff. Oof, yeah, so yeah. If you're weak at heart, don't watch that opium episode. My God, oof, there's some messed up people. That was a messed up episode. But overall, I would say give this a shot. Definitely give this a shot. If you don't like it the first couple episodes, just drop it. But my opinion, this is a solid series. It's good. It's a solid, good series. And pretty much that's pretty much it. I mean, now that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. And what else I want to say? Oh yeah. If you guys have seen this series, let me know in the comments below. If you guys seen it, if you guys haven't, tell me you guys are going to see it. If you have seen it, tell me if you think it was a good anime or a great anime or it was the worst piece of crap anime you have ever seen. in your life. Please put your honest opinions out there. And yeah, this is Jim George Baker, also known as the Anime Recruiter, and hopefully I will be coming at you with a review soon and coming at you with some, some more content. Yeah, I definitely need to hop on that. Been lazy, so. But yeah, Jim George Baker, and I'm the Anime Recruiter. So, peace.